Ever wonder what it takes to be a real-life godfather? The kind of power that commands respect with just a look, or the ability to end a multi-million-dollar film production with a single phone call? Carlo Gambino wasn't just a legend. He was a mastermind who controlled the streets of New York with ruthless efficiency. If you're intrigued by the true stories behind the men who inspired iconic characters like Don Corleone, buckle up. You're about to delve into the life of a man whose cunning and brutality shaped the very fabric of organized crime in America. On the quiet morning of April 12th, 1971, an unassuming old man made his way to his usual coffee shop on Grand Street, New York. Dressed impeccably and slightly stooped with age, the only clue to his significance was the five younger men in suits flanking him. This was no ordinary man, but one of the most eminent mafia bosses of our time, Carlo Gambino. Gambino was there to hold court, a common practice for a don like himself. Sipping his customary black coffee, he humbly and attentively listened to people from the community with grievances or questions. On this particular morning, however, something unusual was happening just down the road. The filming of a scene from The Godfather in which Don Corleone is murdered. The production of this film had been turbulent, with the Mafia doing everything it could to prevent it. After all, what secret criminal society would want to star on the big screen? The tension was high that day in 1971, and Don Carlo had a choice to make. If he had wanted to stop the film, it would have taken just one phone call. But as Gambino watched Marlon Brando's rendition of what would become an iconic scene, he decided to let it go. Unlike previous gangster films, this one seemed to offer a more honorable portrayal of their deeds and conduct, staying true to the novel by Mario Puzo, which had won their support. Carlo Gambino was not your average mob boss. Despite his kindly appearance, he was one of the most ruthless godfathers in mob history. Gambino embodied the essence of what Niccolò Machiavelli, the philosopher of power, described as the ideal leader. He possessed the cunning of a fox, navigating the treacherous world of organized crime with an unmatched ability to identify and avoid danger. Yet when necessary, he could unleash the force of a lion, striking fear into the hearts of his enemies. Loved by many but feared by more, Gambino and his contemporaries had the country in the palm of their hands. Now we peel back the layers of myth and mystique surrounding Carlo Gambino, revealing the secrets of the man behind the power. A cunning strategist, a ruthless operator, and a paradox, a seemingly mild-mannered leader who presided over a brutal empire. Don't let his kind face or small stature fool you. This man did not come up the easy way and was willing to do whatever it took to reach the top, betraying those he swore loyalty to and crushing those he saw as a threat. This is the story of whom many consider the real Vito Corleone, the godfather of the Mafia, Carlo Gambino. It was in August 1902 that Carlo was born to parents Tommaso and Felicia Gambino, an honorable family intimately connected to the Mafia and residing in one of the many parts of Palermo where law enforcement made no entry. Young Carlo grew up in this neighborhood, which had changed little over the previous century. The passing of the year was marked by the changing agricultural scene, fields turning from green to late summer gold as the barley shimmered under the hot Mediterranean sun. A busy harvest season followed, with work still almost entirely done by man and horse alone. While it was a peaceful and idyllic scene, it offered limited opportunities to a new generation uninterested in the farming ways of old. In Sicily, and for many centuries preceding it, the Mafia, or honorable society, was not separate from Sicilian society. They were interwoven with it. From their role in the social sphere, mediating conflicts such as land and dowry disputes, to their criminal activity, which often focused on black-hand extortion techniques, they were an integral part of life. Given all this, and Carlo's strong family connections to the group, for him there was no separation. They were very much part of his life. Witnessing the respect shown to men from the Mafia, the way people would tip their hats and display deference to these finely dressed and well-framed individuals. How could there be anything but a magnetic pull towards this life for a young boy? These were the years when members of this honored society began making passage from Sicily to the new land of opportunity, America. Men like Giuseppe Morello established themselves there in the early 1890s, laying the foundations for what was to come. Being of the generation below figures such as Morello, Young Carlo remained rooted in his Palermo neighborhood for the time being, developing a reputation as a shrewd operator with what they called furbizia, an acute sense of cunning. He was also not afraid to use violence when necessary. It wasn't long before he caught the attention of various mafia operators locally, who were always on the lookout for young talent to bring through the ranks of their organization. Thus, Carlo began work as an enforcer for the boss of bosses and the most powerful godfather of the time, Vito Cascioferro, an esteemed and eminently respected mafioso who embodied the honor of the old practice like few others. Carlo's work wasn't always clean. From the outset, his tasks were gritty. Even as a young man, Carlo was not physically imposing, standing at only about 5'6". Despite his stature, he had a strong and commanding presence, with a sharp nose and an appearance similar to a bird of prey, features that made him memorable. A light payment from the barber might mean a rock through the window. Repeated missed payments would likely result in something more severe, with Carlo and an associate making their point clear with knuckle dusters. As Cassio stated, it was important to skim the cream off the milk without breaking the bottle. Extortion was an art that required finesse, ensuring income streams were maintained almost continuously through the extortion of all local businesses. Fully immersed in this life and building his reputation, Carlo was officially sworn in at age 19 in 1921. The secret ceremony, overseen by the elder Don, involved a cut hand, clasping a picture of the Virgin Mary, and committing the picture to flame. Carlo officially began his journey into the mafia world. Carlo couldn't have been happier, but life was about to take an unexpected turn. Centuries-old power dynamics were shifting in 1920s Italy. The emergence of Mussolini's fascism posed a grave threat to established mafia practices. Initially, some thought Mussolini could be worked with, but it soon became clear he sought no compromises. He saw the mafia as a threat to his dominion and, like an insecure capo, aimed to eliminate every perceived threat. Notorious old men were rounded up, and many new charges were created to arrest and remove mafia members at all levels. Even the great Vito Cascioferro, who had always remained immune from charges, was arrested and spent the rest of his life in prison. With this new and deadly threat looming over the Sicilian mafia, it became clear to youngsters like Gambino that greater opportunities lay outside Sicily. In 1921, preparations were made for him to travel to America, where he had existing family in New York. His father secured passage for him as a stowaway aboard a passenger liner. It's said he strolled off the boat in his Sunday best as if New York was already his, hungry for opportunity and power that could no longer be found in Sicily. A conqueror seeking new dominions. Carlo had well-established connections in New York, specifically with the Castellano family, a powerful clan that had already established a presence in the city. Upon arrival, he was immediately welcomed by his family, who had been waiting for him at the dock. It was like the arrival of a much-loved prince in a foreign land, surrounded by the comfort and familiarity of kin. Carlo wasted no time exploiting his connections and immersing himself in New York's booming underworld. Based in a waterfront flat, he began working for various figures in bootlegging and loan sharking, quickly making a reputation as a methodical and reliable businessman. He soon caught the eye of one of the early leaders of the five families, Joe Masseria. 16 years Gambino's senior, Masseria had been establishing his organization and rackets for over a decade, coming of age within the legendary Morello gang. Recognizing Carlo's talent, Masseria recruited him into his organization, which focused on extortion, loan sharking, gambling, and increasingly narcotics. However, the most lucrative revenue stream during this era was illegal liquor. This was the age of prohibition, where the sale of alcohol was illegal, but the demand remained high. The booming 1920s, with its wealth and hedonism, created a strong appetite for alcohol. Despite authorities' efforts, New York was filled with illegal speakeasies and informal clubs. If one was raided and closed, another would open, as demand was too high to suppress. Figures like Joe Masseria and other notable bootleggers of the era were responsible for transporting illegally brewed alcohol to safe houses and then distributing it to approved suppliers. Through the 1920s, Carlo Gambino played a pivotal role in the booming criminal underworld. Working for various mafia families, he gained invaluable insights into how different factions operated, knowledge that would serve him well in the future. Carlo was more than just a lion. He was a cunning fox, adept at setting traps and avoiding them. During this period, he generated significant revenues and earned a fearsome reputation. Despite his success, Carlo wasn't satisfied. As tensions between families escalated in the 1930s, he saw opportunity in the chaos. With rival leader Maranzano hungry for power, Gambino made a deal with Lucky Luciano, agreeing to support Luciano's bid for power in exchange for becoming his second-in-command and inheriting Masseria's rackets. Although he had worked with Masseria for years, Gambino's adaptability led him to side with Luciano. This decision positioned him favorably after Masseria's assassination. However, Maranzano's leadership was short-lived, as Luciano, with Gambino's assistance, had him killed as well. Luciano then established the commission to manage power and resolve disputes between the families. Gambino began working for Vincent the Executioner Mangano, one of the heads of the new five families. For the next 2 decades, Gambino demonstrated his strategic prowess, consolidating power while avoiding becoming a target for removal. During this time, the Mafia in New York underwent significant changes. Prohibition ended, and the commission helped maintain stability among the families. Gambino used this period to perfect his craft, learning a great deal while maintaining a low profile. He also remained a committed family man, marrying his first cousin, Catherine Castellano, in 1932, which strategically strengthened ties between the Gambino and Castellano families. In the early 1950s, a new wave of instability hit. High-ranking mobster Albert Anastasia grew tired of taking orders and plotted to take over from Mangano. Following Mangano's disappearance and presumed murder, Anastasia took command, ushering in a chaotic 6-year reign. During this time, Gambino bided his time, preparing for his next move. In 1957, Gambino saw his opportunity. He secretly organized a hit squad and had Anastasia killed while he was getting a shave at the Park Sheraton Hotel. With Anastasia out of the way, Gambino stepped forward as the capo of the newly named Gambino family at age 55, finally achieving the power he had long sought. As Machiavelli stated, whoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times, and Gambino had done just that. With his newfound power, Gambino focused on consolidating his control and shaping the organization to his needs. He expanded into legal operations to diversify income and create a shield against law enforcement. By increasing legal revenue streams, he could better mask illicit earnings. This strategy included tightening control over the building industry, labor unions, and various city services. The cement industry proved particularly lucrative, with waves of construction in New York during the 1960s and 1970s. Gambino's methodical and businesslike approach shunned gratuitous violence, preferring discreet hits to avoid unwanted attention. He discussed business only in code at meetings, much to the frustration of law enforcement agencies monitoring his calls. Gambino understood the importance of surrounding himself with loyal and intelligent men. He chose Neil Della Croce, a respected strategic thinker, as his underboss. Della Croce upheld mob traditions, ensuring smooth operations at all levels and maintaining a strong connection between soldiers and commanders. His loyalty and connections to labor unions and the building industry were invaluable. Gambino also built alliances through strategic marriages. He married his son to Tommy Lucchese's daughter, Frances, to strengthen ties with another powerful family. This marriage reduced future tensions and increased opportunities for collaboration, much like the powerful Medici and other great families of Italy. Despite his power, Gambino remained humble. He lived in a modest suburban home, avoiding flashy displays of wealth. This humility, coupled with his strategic mind, allowed him to evade law enforcement while maintaining control over his empire. However, Gambino's ruthlessness remained intact. When mob boss Joe Colombo drew unwanted media and police attention through the Italian-American Civil Rights League, Gambino acted. He organized Colombo's assassination at one of his rallies in June 1971, using a hitman with no mafia ties to cover his tracks. These actions showcased Gambino's continued cunning and ruthlessness. Entering the 1970s, he commanded respect, secured his family's income, and evaded incarceration, solidifying his position as one of the most powerful and strategic mob bosses in history. In 1970, Carlo Gambino, a rare 68-year-old mafia leader, began to face questions about his successor. Word on the street was that his cousin Paul Castellano was favored, but many within the organization didn't see him as credible. Castellano, seen as pampered and inexperienced in street activity, lacked respect among the men. Throughout his later years, Gambino's rule remained unquestioned. He had bridged too many generations and accomplished too much to be easily threatened. By 1975, recognizing his declining health, Gambino decided on arrangements for his cousin Paul Castellano to take over after his death. This decision continued Gambino's preference for keeping power within the family, similar to how he had married his first cousin to help cement future power. However, this choice seemed less strategic and more biased. Gambino knew Castellano's shortcomings and the disfavor he was held in by the foot soldiers. He understood that a lack of respect between the foot soldiers and their boss created an unsustainable situation long-term. On October 15, 1976, Gambino suffered a heart attack at his home. The man who had navigated the fiercest mafia wars and built his family to unmatched heights saw out his days peacefully from his New York home. His funeral, held the following Monday, was a grand affair with a 13-limousine convoy and hundreds of mourners paying their respects to the boss of bosses. Throughout his life, Gambino had struck the perfect balance between power and cunning, embodying both the lion and the fox, enabling him to walk the razor's edge of mafia power in New York City for over 50 years. Carlo Gambino's life is a testament to adaptability and strategic thinking. From his early years in Sicily to his leadership role in the American Mafia, Gambino demonstrated an unparalleled ability to adjust and strategize in the face of evolving circumstances, a feat few have achieved. Machiavelli's The Prince outlines the ideal characteristics of a leader: to be as cunning as a fox and as powerful as a lion. Although this sounds straightforward, it's more complex than it seems. Many understand it only at a basic level, but to truly benefit from this idea, we need to dig deeper. Machiavelli's metaphor of the fox and the lion explains that a leader must be cunning enough to recognize and avoid traps, while being powerful enough to fend off enemies. Gambino perfectly embodied this principle. He cunningly managed to escape from multiple traps while laying his own, and he scared away any potential rivals, building a ruthless reputation behind his seemingly frail and kind exterior. To better understand and apply these principles, sign up for our free newsletter. We'll explore how you can enhance your adaptability and strategic thinking, helping you become a person of honor and strength. Adaptability in different environments is crucial. The only certainty in life is change, and those who thrive are the ones who can anticipate and benefit from these changes. But how do we actually do this? To put it simply, there are a few things you can do. First, study the patterns of history. A few months ago, I found a book that detailed the cycles of empires, claiming there's a clear pattern in history that goes back to ancient times. If you're interested, quickly sign up for our completely free email newsletter. We'll be sharing a lot more hidden gems like this one. But anyway, this next point is quite crucial. Number 2, always keep improving. If you're not progressing, you're declining, no matter the field you're in. To anticipate change and make the most of the opportunities that come your way, you need to sharpen your skills and learn new ones. Look at Gambino's journey. It all began on the traditional and tightly knit island of Sicily. Growing up amidst the intertwined web of societal norms and organized crime, he absorbed the ways of the Cosa Nostra. However, the rise of Mussolini's fascism forced him to adapt. Recognizing the changing political landscape and the increasing threat to the Mafia's existence, Gambino made a pivotal decision to seek opportunities beyond Sicily, ultimately leading him to the United States. This ability to navigate a new environment demonstrates the importance of adaptability, allowing leaders to thrive even in unfamiliar territories. Now let's talk about timing and tactical maneuvers. Think of the 5 most exceptional generals in history. There's an illustrious list of names we can think of, but the one that comes to mind for many is Napoleon Bonaparte. Some describe Napoleon as the Mozart of warfare, and it's not hard to see why. It all boils down to 2 essential elements: mastering the art of timing and mobility. Napoleon was able to defeat much larger, more experienced foes by understanding that the key to success in any military or political maneuver is timing, followed by swift and decisive action. If we look at Gambino's ascent to power, we see the meticulous timing of his key maneuvers. The orchestrated assassination of Albert Anastasia marked a pivotal moment, not just in his criminal career, but in the history of the American Mafia. By clandestinely organizing a hit squad and eliminating a powerful rival, Gambino ensured a seamless transition into the role of boss. He didn't rush into it like many others would have. He weighed his options and planned ahead. This demonstrated an acute understanding of when to make decisive moves for maximum impact. The lesson here is the importance of timing and leadership, knowing when to act, when to wait, and how to capitalize on strategic opportunities for the greatest advantage. Number 3, learning from others and continuous observation. Throughout his early years in the American Mafia, Gambino worked for various families, gaining valuable insights into different factions, operations, and customs. His time as a young mafioso in Sicily provided him with mental ammunition that would later prove crucial in his rise to power. His adaptability was honed by learning from the successes and mistakes of others. The ability to glean lessons from diverse experiences enables you to make informed decisions and navigate complex scenarios effectively. Hey there! If you've made it this far, you're already part of our inner circle at Inside the Secret World of Mafia Titans. And guess what? It's completely free. By joining us, you're diving deep into the enthralling world of Mafia legends and getting valuable insights from their stories. And don't stop there. Watch the next video to see how everything we've talked about ties together. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. See you soon.